August the 11th. Lots of messages coming in and lots of calls coming in as well, which we need to get through. Have a look at this is Paul, have a look at the human body diet. I've lost the best part of 3 stone. Well done, you. And feel amazing. Everyone should know about the diet. Thanks. Diabetes, this is Andy Linton. I also read that eliminating man-made fats, trans fats from the diet can reverse type 2. I mean, it's about good nutrition, isn't it, this?
It is, yeah. So type 2 diabetes, like I said, is this whole sugar and fat body thing. Get rid of the sugars, get rid of the fat, problem solved to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's move on, though, because it's now time for Sunday Surgery.
Dr. David Bull's Sunday Surgery.
So I want to talk about fatty liver disease. Actually, I thought it was a really good time to talk about livers generally. 1 in 5 young adults has evidence of fatty liver disease, according to new research. It's mainly caused by alcohol and obesity and traditionally affects people in their 40s to 60s. But basically, there's been this enormous study of thousands of 24-year-olds in Bristol, and it showed that 1 in 40 of them had advanced liver disease with scarring known as fibrosis. So the question is, what is going on here? We know that 1 in 5 primary school children already leave school with obesity, which we were talking about earlier. And just in terms of the cost of alcohol-related disease to the NHS, £3.5 billion every single year. And the mortality rates from liver disease have rocketed, and they've gone up exponentially. They've gone up 400% in the last 50 years. And with liver disease, you tend to be diagnosed much later in the course of your disease by the time you actually see a physician. Joining us now is Sharan Verma, who's a liver health expert and nutritionist. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Where should we start? Should we start with the liver itself generally? Do you want to start telling us a little bit about the liver? I mean, I was just reading yesterday, I mean, people's livers are different sizes, but in a man it weighs 1.8 kilograms and in a woman about 1.3 kilograms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people underestimate just how important their liver is. So your liver is just as vital as your heart. Is performing over 500 functions a day, whether it's filtering out your blood, converting the food you eat into energy, making vitamins for you, etc. It's one of the most vital organs that we have, but yet no one really knows much about it and no one really speaks much about it either. And this is why you're getting so many people with this disease, fatty liver, because there's no education behind it. Nobody knows about it.
That is absolutely right. Nobody knows about it. So just in terms of this, you are a liver health expert. Just tell us how you got involved.
Okay, so my dad was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in his early 50s. When Dad told us that he had liver disease, we dismissed it because he never drank alcohol, and we always believed that if you drank alcohol, you're more likely to develop liver disease. We did not know that if you had a poor diet or if you were slightly overweight, you were at a greater risk of developing this disease. And that is what happened with him. And sadly, 10 years later, 8 weeks after his 60th birthday, he passed away because his liver had progressed from a fatty liver to liver fibrosis, where it's scarred, to then liver cirrhosis, where the liver shape changes. And his options there were a transplant or death. And sadly, he didn't get the transplant he needed. He passed away. I then spent many years grieving his death, thinking, why is people not talking about it? And then I decided, okay, I'm changing my career. I'm going to start studying nutrition. I'm now going to help people and give them the help that we needed. And so at least there's somebody there.
Yeah, you turn tragedy into something really marvellous, actually. How are you helping people then? How are you trying to get... And you're absolutely right, we don't talk enough about livers. We talk about heart disease. We've spoken about it this morning. We don't talk about livers. So how are you trying to educate people?
So I educate people through my platform on Instagram, on Facebook, and what I do is I talk about the importance of adapting the Mediterranean-style diet. This is the most evidence-based research done for people with liver disease, because there's so much misinformation out there in terms of go on a detox, go on a cleanse. You don't need that. Your liver does that for you. It's one of its jobs. The best thing you can do is try and add more whole foods into your diet. That means more fruits, more vegetables, lean meats, beans, pulses, all the things that you know is good for you. and have more of that in your diet, and just try and eliminate or reduce the amount of processed and ultra-processed foods that you're having.
Isn't it interesting?
Try and keep it simple.
Yeah, it comes down to nutrition again. This study, the Children of the 90s study, is the only birth cohort in the world to assess liver health at multiple time points at 17, 24 and now as they turn 30. So at the age of 17, 1 in 40 participants, 2.5%, had fatty liver disease. By 24, over 20% had fatty liver disease. And of course, that goes up as they reach 30. Let me just bring in Dean, if I may, here. We, as clinicians, don't talk about the liver.
No, actually,
do we?
No. I mean, over the past few years, I've noted a lot more younger patients coming through with liver function tests that are abnormal, and you think, well, this doesn't fit. Why? They don't have hepatitis, so I need to start hunting a bit.
So these, right? So that you get various. So when we take that blood, we get a number of readings, don't we? And so you're looking at basically the LFTs, and it's not the gamma GT, one particular one. You're talking about the AST or the ALT.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So a couple of these chemicals in the liver function test go off a little bit, and you think this is a young patient. Why is this happening? And more I'm seeing actually that's from a fatty liver. So an ultrasound scan can see the fat surrounding the liver, and the fat irritates and inflames that liver. So again, that's not something that we were widely taught about, I don't believe. Why is that? No, I don't think I ever heard about it actually at medical school or even my junior doctor years. It's been over the past few years that actually I've seen the pattern of it in my patients, that I've gone away to look at it personally in a bit more detail. So the amount of education out there is extraordinarily poor. I don't think it's particularly well understood.
And Sharan, from your experience, is this a changing diet? Convenience foods, fast foods, processed foods?
Absolutely. People are no longer moving as much as they used to. We're so reliant now on things at the touch of a button. Most people don't have time to even cook up a basic meal. I think what really comes down to is the fundamentals of teaching people about how to build a nutritionally balanced meal that is not expensive. You can do this. And I think it is all about educating the younger generation. I went to my daughter's school, she's only 5, and I spoke about the liver. I spoke about the importance of, eating your fruits, eating your vegetables, limiting the amount of sugary drinks you're having, moving more, just sticking to the basics. I think the more we can discuss this and the more we can emphasize on this, it will help the general public.
Do you think schools are doing enough in terms of nutrition? I know they are doing far more than they did, particularly when I was growing up. But there again, there was an onus when I was growing up that you did have home-cooked meals. That is what happened. There weren't the convenience foods. There weren't the processed foods in those days.
Yeah, they weren't. But I think nowadays in schools, even the language that is used needs to change, because they still refer to food as good food or bad food, when there isn't no such thing. You have calorie-dense foods and you've got nutrient-dense foods.
Yeah.
And I think the more that is explained to a child in terms of what is nutrient-dense, how is it going to help you, that's where we need to start. We need to start from the bottom so that the next generation do not face liver disease as it is now, because it is growing at such a rapid rate.
I'm so pleased you said that, because I don't believe there are good foods and bad foods. I think there are good diets and bad diets.
Yes, essentially.
Would you agree with that?
I'm inclined to agree, but one of the things that keeps going through my mind in this discussion is about society. We talked earlier about individual decisions and societal decisions, and we're in this society now where it's 24/7, you're constantly working. You haven't got time like you had in the past to go home and cook a healthy
And people expect a response, don't they? They send an email, and if you haven't answered in 2 minutes, they call you.
Absolutely. So there's no wonder people are reaching for the quick, high-density, refined snacks that actually are causing these sorts of illnesses.
But also, I think supermarkets have a role to play, Sharan, here as well, because I want to see more bog-offs on broccoli. I want to see fewer bog-offs on chocolate.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish that they would put that into practice, where you can have a bog off on fruits and vegetables as opposed to going to the cake aisle and getting your bog off. And I think this is where we need to come in and really help the population understand that those foods that they're going for aren't going to help them. And in terms of people not having time, there's no reason why they can't try and do maybe batch cooking, go for a tinned option, go for frozen options. They're just as good as the fresh options. It is all about trying to simplify and making whatever lifestyle they have, making it sustainable for them.
Absolutely.
No quick fixes, no fad dieting approach.
And Sharan, how can people get more advice, and how do they connect with you on social media?
They can connect with me on Instagram via Renourish with Sharan, or they can go to my website, sharanverma.com. I've got copious amounts of resources on my website to help people. And that's really the aim here. The aim here is to help the public so that they don't go on to develop fibrosis, cirrhosis, in the face of having a transplant. is to help them.
And so just to spell that out, it's Sharan Verma, SharanVerma. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
No, absolute pleasure. Thanks ever so much. That was Sharan Verma there, liver health expert and nutritionist, and that was today's Sunday Surgery.
Dr. David Bull.